Well, hello, everybody. Hey,
Hey,
Joe.
hey, what's up? What's up? What's up?
We got some.
People already tuning in, huh?
Yeah, we got a couple. I know. Let's see. Kimberly's here. Say hello,
Yes.
Kimberly. Kimberly, hello.
Hello,
So
Kimberly. How
tonight,
are you?
oops. All right. So tonight, Joe and I are going to start a series on cryptic creatures. And for
This is
those of
gonna
you
be
that
good.
don't have a dictionary handy, cryptic just means secretive. So
Mm-hmm.
just a fancy word for good hide and seek champion or something
Right.
like Bigfoot. And that's we're going to talk about Mr. Big Feet or Mrs. Big Feet or Little Big Feets.
Little big feet, right?
That's right, Little Big Feets. We're going to talk about that today, or at least we'll try and start that today.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah.
probably be a multi-parter. So Bigfoot's just not one of those things you can sit around the dinner table and 30 minutes talk about the whole history and
Right.
all the different sightings and yada yada yada. Because I know at least one of us has a personal experience with Stinky Foot, and it was pretty eye opening. But we
Mm-hmm.
are also going to talk about this past weekend. This past weekend, we were in the now lovely New York.
Yes.
Um,
Now, lovely New
the
York,
now lovely New York. And I
especially
guess
after Saturday.
since the event is over now, I guess we can say where it was.
Yes.
Uh, it was at the Trump uh, Westchester Golf Club, golf course, whatever you want to call it. And it was Delore O'Brien's The Gathering, the first one, started in New
Yes.
York this past weekend on Saturday at
Hmm.
1:30. If you weren't there, you're square.
Oh yeah. It was beautiful, man. Beautiful. I mean, it was like a piece of heaven on earth.
It was an amazing event, I have to say. I didn't know what to expect when I got there, but
Hmm.
by the end of the day, man, the hair was standing up in the back of my neck, and then the blood was flowing, and the fire was burning, and it was. If people didn't come out of there with a lot of hope and a lot of passion and a lot of God, what else? Adjectives I want to use, but
Oh yeah.
man, it
I
was, as
mean,
Greg would say, it was lit.
it was lit. I mean, it was definitely a change. I think, for me, it was definitely a change of direction as well, as far as, seeing where the country is going, and not just the country, but, just even my area, because I'm in New Jersey. I was only about an hour and 30 minutes away from, that particular place in New York. And it's just, man, that resonated through the whole, I'm sure the whole tri-state area.
Well, as
What God is going to do.
Amanda Grace said it perfectly, she felt the ground shake,
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah.
and I was I
Oh
was
yeah.
I was just floored by not only the quality of the people that were there and the and just the I mean they were so knowledgeable and so worldly when it comes to not only current events but being able to relate things that are going on now with biblical times and with the Bible and with and that where like these timelines repeat themselves. And I had no
Yes.
idea. Like when Robin started talking about the that Esther timeline, I was like, that just totally blew me away. That I mean, if I wouldn't have been sitting down, I probably would have fell down. That blew me
Oh yeah.
away.
Oh yeah. And it's funny because he was so important, because I've been asking the Lord about timelines and really teaching me to understand different timelines. So after
Mhm.
hearing him and what he was pretty much teaching us about timelines, it was just like, oh, that's what I needed to hear. That's what I
Yes.
needed to know. That makes a lot of sense. Now I get it at a basic level. I get it now at a basic level. And so it made so much sense, because in the past, you would never have thought about, timelines even being real. I mean, because you see it in movies, right? We saw it in the Avengers, End Games. I'm sorry,
Yes, there
the
you
End
go.
Game. We saw it in you see it in Time Cop. Remember the old movie Time
Oh,
Cop?
Time Cop, man, that was one of my favorite movies back in the day.
Yeah.
Was Jean Claude?
Yeah. Hey Donnie, is that Donnie?
Hey,
Yes. Hey
yes,
Donnie.
Donnie.
Yeah. So we see it in the movies, and I mean, the movies the movies are always prophetic. I mean, they always tell the truth, in a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
so you see in these movies how they're changing timelines and all those things. But Robin brought it out that it was even in the Bible how God allows certain men by his power to change timelines, and so we're seeing the same thing. I mean, the enemy is using men, the devil's using men even now to change timelines. And this actually goes with what we're going to talk about too, with these uh, cryptid creatures as well.
Nice.
I'm gonna tie it into that. I want to tie it into that.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
There was just for any of you watching and that will be watching, we don't want to give too much away because this is Dolores' baby, and we want her to expose this to everybody on Friday. I sent her over a bunch of pictures that I took, and
you did some really good shots too, by the way.
oh, thanks. I tried to get everybody and get position. Hey, let's see. Just watch Oblivion. Crazy. Yeah, that wasn't crazy. That's like time loop movie.
Oh yeah.
That movie gave me a headache, man, because it was like Groundhog Day, but getting blasted by aliens.
Right. Exactly.
But Dolores gonna drop that Easter egg on Friday, so everybody's gonna probably talk about their personal experience. She'll bring out some of the pictures, and I'm sure because Denise Borland, her daughter's got video and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So between the pictures and the video, I'm sure it was well covered. And she may show some of Robin's segment, I guess I can call it.
Yeah.
And you guys, you will be blown away with the stuff that he said, especially concerning Barack Obama and timelines. And I didn't know that Satan could not jump forward into the future like God. Well, obviously he's fallen angel,
right.
God can, of course.
Right.
And anybody that's like you said earlier, given permission to, or the ability to. Mm-hmm. But it was truly, truly, truly fascinating. I just in that segment alone, I learned more than I can even imagine.
Me too.
And I've been scrapping for the last year and a half trying to figure some of this stuff out. He just lays it out on the table.
He laid it out plainly, and it's like, wow, thank you, God. I mean, you pretty much answered my question. When we talk Friday, Greg would tell you, I was looking at him like every 5 minutes, like, my goodness, are you hearing this? Greg is just sitting there like,
Yeah, I had a hard time. Not a hard time with what was going on. I just had a hard time trying to get in a position to get decent pictures, because everybody was going crazy. Everybody's arms were up in the air, and which is great, but blocking all the shots. So it's like I literally took 970 photos to get about 89 or 90 what I consider good shots.
Yeah.
And but that's how it is with photography. You hope you get those really good few by taking a bunch of them, and that's
exactly.
It was a hard venue to shoot because you had this gigantic glass windows that all this light was blaring into.
Exactly.
So if I was shooting in that direction, all the pictures were getting blown out, and so I had to spend a little time in Photoshop. Like those pictures of you, for example, you were backlit by those windows, so I had to really, really do a lot of magic to try to get your face and everything to show up because it was obscured, previously.
Well, you maneuvered, man. You got some really good shots, man. It was really, really good.
So you guys will be happy if you watch Dolores' show on Friday. You guys are in for a treat, man. I keep saying, man. I don't know why I keep saying that. But you're truly in for a treat because it was an amazing event. And if you ever get a chance to go to one, I think the next one's in Hollywood around the end of January. By all means, make arrangements, go. I think she's going to try to have them all over the country, but I know for sure that the next one's Hollywood. So, but man, I can tell you, if there was any demons, any principalities, any whatever, as Pythos, as Dolores said, over New York City, it's long gone since Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And you had that. Why don't you bring up your dream about New York, or the was it a dream?
Yes. Well, I'm gonna talk about it on Friday.
Okay,
I'm gonna talk about that on Friday, because one thing, and I'll tell you right now, one thing that was significant to what I saw happening was, remember what happened after the event when everything was done?
Oh yeah, so everybody remembered that.
It was pouring down raining.
It was like a monsoon. The water was coming down so hard, it was actually coming in the back door. It was just like torrential rain. Nobody expected it. It was like right after this event ended, right after, Robin finished, and it was like the heavens literally opened up, and
yes,
it was crazy. It was amazing. It was, I still think about it. I mean, I'm still like, even when I was out, shooting real estate pictures, I just kept having like flashbacks to all these. Amanda Grace's segment was wonderful. Delora was great. Dennis was off the hook. Dennis, he's like a little dynamo, man. He's just like going and going. like the Energizer Bunny, man. He was going.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, he was going so much I had a hard time getting a good picture of him, because all the pictures I got, he had all these weird body postures and faces and stuff like that. So it was just kind of hard to get a good one, but I did get a couple of good ones of them. And nice. So anyway, anybody watching, I'm telling you, do not miss Friday's show. Do not miss it. It will be worth the hour, however long we're going to be on. It will be worth your time. So especially if you want some hope about current events and things that are going on in the background, and spiritually, the war that we're in, you're going to be in for a treat. I'll tell you.
Oh yeah. We're in a good position right now. Very good position right now.
Oh, Robin wanted to spill the beans, but he said he couldn't. But he kind of did, though, in a way.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
All I'm going to say is that
we know who he's connected to.
Yeah, he kept emphasizing that we were on good ground. We were on good property.
Yeah.
And as previously stated, we were at Trump's Golf Club in Westchester. So God through Robin said that that's good property. So take that for what you will and save it. Keep it in your pocket until Friday, and then you'll learn a lot more. But amazing lineup. Joe was up talking about his dream. We had Charlie Jordan on the bass, Joe on the drums at the beginning there.
That was so fun.
And forgive me, but the other Dingle, how is she related?
Who, my wife?
No, I thought there was another. Who's the woman that was singing the first with you and Charlie?
I forget her name. Her last name wasn't Dingle, though.
I know somebody kept saying that, and I said, no, it's not. Like somebody literally next to me was saying that.
Was it? It wasn't Gina, was it? Because
I know like
that. I think somebody had. No, it wasn't her name. I forget her name, but we'll talk about her on. Hold on. Yeah, Gina.
Gina, okay.
Because you know why? They had her name, her first name, with my last name as my wife.
And it was that's why
Tiana Dingle.
People kept telling me, because I kept asking, and these people acted like they knew who she was. Oh, it's Gina Dingle. I'm like, what?
Yeah, they had it wrong on the actual guest list. They had Gina Dingle instead of Tiana Dingle.
Yes. That makes sense now. That totally makes sense now. But she was great. You guys were like, you never stopped playing the drums or stopped playing the bass. You guys just like were like, it was awesome. And then
it's been maybe 2.5 years since I've touched the drums. So it's but that's the thing about it, as musicians, it never leaves you. It just you may get a little slower and forget certain things, but you can play with any band as long as you keep in the groove and all that stuff. You can do that. I mean, that never leaves you, you know.
I'd imagine it's like the bass too. As long as you got the groove for whatever music you're playing, you know, it's like.
Yeah.
But I could tell Charlie was having a great time. You were having a great time, and everybody was just. All I have to say, nobody was sitting down.
Not at all. Not at all.
And every time they were standing up, like Delora had to say to sit down, or you know, like they had to like. Jeez.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It was amazing. Delora even. I mean, she was a good MC. She was very good at getting people together for this event, and very good at. It was just totally unexpected for me. I was expecting something totally different, and this just blew me away. And I'm so glad that I went.
Oh yeah, look, me too. And I'm glad you were there. We got to see everybody in person, and we got.
That's right.
You know,
got to meet everybody. Got to meet you and Greg and Charlie and Delora and Amanda Grace. Robin was kind of a little aloof, but he did get a picture with Charlie, I guess.
Yeah, he had to catch a plane right afterwards. So, but we got a chance to kind of talk with him and hang out with him in the sound check. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, he had to leave out. But yeah, it was so humble, man. Such a humble man, and you know, so down to earth. You know, sometimes when you be around people like that, and you know, most people don't realize, even in the church, you know, you see these. I guess you would call them celebrity pastors, right, or celebrity TV preachers or whatever. And I've been around a lot of them, and sometimes you'll be around some of them, and they have a really big ego and prideful, and
like the big J.O. out in Texas.
Yes. But it's like with Robin, it was just like he was so down to earth. It was just like, you know, like he was one of us. It's like, hey, you know, I'm being used by God just like you guys are, you know. So it wasn't no ego, nothing, you know.
Just like his daughters and his wife, they were all super people too. I mean, they were genuinely nice, and it was fun to be around them. It was just having like everybody in the green room and stuff. It was just so laid back, and the only thing that was funny, and Amanda's gonna kill me, but was her bodyguard.
Oh yeah. Well, you gotta understand, Amanda. I mean,
oh, I know. Believe me, I know why she has the bodyguard. It's just it was funny because everybody else is just kind of laid back and whatever, like, and you're talking. I remember Charlie and I were talking about something, and Amanda came over, and as soon as I turned my head to say something to her, like her bodyguard was like right here.
Oh yeah.
It's like, dude, personal space, man.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, somebody like her is understandable because I mean, you have other, like I say, celebrity ministers and stuff that will have, like, I've been around pastors and preachers that have had like 10 to 12 bodyguards around them, and it's like, why do you need all these people? Like, you know what I mean? I can see if you just had one that, you know, just kind of, you know, that close bodyguard, but you know, security was tight there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed some of the guys that blended in, you know.
Well, the big muscle guys with tattoos really didn't blend in. They looked like the CIA and the FBI guys at the January 6th thing, or the whatever the rally, the event was for the. They had their little shirt, their short sleeve shirts on and stuff, and
the two guys, and then it was a third tall guy as well. But there was other guys that were sitting down too.
I think the guy sitting next to Robin too, wasn't he? Like the shorter guy.
Yeah, he was. Yep. He was,
because he kept looking at me like when I was walking around taking pictures. Because if I were to show you all the pictures, half the pictures facing that direction, he's always facing the camera. Like he's always looking. So it looks like he's posing for the picture, and everybody else is in whatever, you know, natural state that they're in, and you got this one guy that's sitting there eyeballing you in the picture. So
right.
I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Anna is here. Hello,
hey, Anna. There she is.
And so is Margot Martian. I still love that name. That's such an
I know,
awesome.
it's so hot. Nice. Good to see you guys.
So now that you've got a little taste of spiritual warfare, we're gonna move into cryptic warfare. I guess we're gonna start with some Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it, lore, history, if there is a history, I guess. But if you think it's not something they teach in schools, but
Yeah.
it's, as far as I could tell, since I was a kid, every show that I've ever watched, every book I've ever read, and since the internet came around, Bigfoot or some kind of creature, hairy man, whatever, has been around since pretty much cave drawings. And and again, we're not here to tell you to believe in Bigfoot or not. And it's an interesting subject, and there's just seems to be a lot that evolves or revolves around this subject, and it never goes away. So, and there's still continually thousands of sightings every year around the world, especially in the United States. And as far as I understand, Bigfoot, or whatever creature people are calling Bigfoot, Sasquatch, whatever, exists in most of the world except for the arid places like Egypt and that kind of stuff, where obviously there's nowhere to hide.
Right.
But pretty much anywhere where there's mountains and forest and whatever, they seem to pop up. At least growing up in Ohio, people don't realize, but my neighbors don't realize that Ohio's a hot spot for Bigfoot. Ever since I was a kid, we have one of the biggest Bigfoot conferences about 10 miles away from where I live every year. It's always here in Ohio, one of the top two. And so I grew up hearing about Bigfoot, grew up hearing about in Florida, when my parents moved down there, the skunk ape and that kind of stuff. So it goes by a lot of names, Yeti, skunk ape, whatever.
Yeah.
Hairy man. As a matter of fact, might as well get the screen share going here. So I don't know if I'm pronouncing this guy or woman's name correctly, but it was a research article that was written in California, and this was back a little while ago. Her name or his name is Mayak Datat. So don't know what nationality that is. The hairy man pictographs. Oh no, that's not the name. That's the pictographs. Sorry, whoever wrote it. Kathy Moskowitz. So from the U.S. Forest Service. Says the purpose of this article is to examine the association of prehistoric pictographs with the contemporary stories told by the Tule River Indians about hairy man, located on the Tule River Indian Reservation. The painted rock pictographs are approximately 1,000 years old. That's pretty old. According to members of the tribe, the pictographs depict how various animals, including hairy man, created people. And you have to remember, a lot of these, ancient people, the only way they could kind of describe their world or put their world into perspective is like with things that, were literal to them. Like they didn't have books and that kind of stuff, or, they didn't have like a history of things that they could go look up. So they would associate with things that they came in contact with on a regular basis, or else they would never write about them. And some of them, I guess, were so, I don't want to say moving, but made an impact on them. They felt the need to either put pictures of them or write about them, or, whatever the case is. So, and you'll notice a lot of Native American and older civilizations always have some kind of creation story or multiple creation stories, and a lot of times they revolve around giants. Where have we heard giants before?
Right. Oh yeah.
We talked about the Nephilim a few episodes ago. And what did you call them? Like, not bad boys, but oh man,
what, the Nephilim?
The Giants. You gave them a name, like some kind of. It was a funny name. It was
Well, they were bullies. I know that.
Bullies. That's what it was. It was bullies.
Yeah, they're bullies. Yeah.
But that's the unique thing about hairy man, Bigfoot, Sasquatch. In general, most of the stories. I mean, there's thousands of stories and accounts. Generally, they're not bullies. They're not. They're not vicious. They're not. They're not like people are anyway. So,
yeah, it seems like they try to, I guess, hide from people, or I don't know.
Yeah, they're doing a good job, I'll tell you. But we're going to talk about at some point the whole idea of other planes of existence or parallel dimensions or other doorways to whatever, because that was the theory that kind of garnered some interest, I don't know, back in the 80s, that the reason that people could not see them on a regular basis. And I think I may have something here in my folder, and I'll have to look, but they started talking about, like, they had the ability to at will go in and out of these, like, for lack of a better word, pockets of pocket universes, whatever you want to call them, alternate universes,
right, different dimensions,
whatever it is. And that's why they're hard to find, because they literally are able to go in and out of them at will, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it says the other stories tell why hairy man lives in the mountains, steals food, and still occupies parts of the reservation. Since the Tula River Indians equate hairy man to Bigfoot, the pictograph and stories are valuable to our understanding of the modern idea of hair-covered giant. So, long story short, Bigfoot's been around for a while. I mean, who knows how long they've actually been around, if you believe they exist. Again, we're not trying to make you believe. Right. And but as you can see, Bigfoot doesn't believe in you either if you don't. So
right.
But there's been like so many accounts, even like where you live, Joe, like in New Jersey. You've got the Jersey Devil.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anybody really knows what the Jersey Devil is, but it, pardon my pun, smells like Bigfoot.
That's what I believe. It smells like a Sasquatch, what they say. Some people say.
Yeah. The Jersey Devil's kind of, there's been some movies about the Jersey Devil, like Hollywood movies. And I think Mothman's over in your area there too, which we might cover at one time. Yeah, if you guys haven't heard of Mothman, that's kind of a interesting tale.
Mm. Yeah.
Now, Bigfoot goes by a bunch of different names. Sasquatch, which is kind of a common one. It says Sasquatch is a derivative of Sesquak, which means wild man in a British Columbian Native American language.
Wow.
Yeti, which is the Himalayan name. Sir Edmund Hillary, I think, was part of the expedition where they found out about the Yetis. Almas, I'd never heard of Almas until I actually did this research for this show. It says another variety of Bigfoot. This creature lives in the mountainous terrain of the border of Mongolia and China. It's more human-like than our Bigfoot. Some scientists believe it's more of a Neanderthal than a primate. So that's interesting. I've never heard of that.
Wow.
Sisimite, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is the ape man of Central America. The shaggy-haired creature is said to have supernatural powers, and that's kind of where I was leading with that whole alternate, parallel universe or whatever.
Right.
Which it uses to protect the wilderness, which is not an uncommon idea. The Native Americans very much believed that the Sasquatch was a protector of the forest, of the animals, even of certain tribes.
So that makes sense that they're being always spotted in wooded areas.
That's true.
Nice.
The skunk ape, which is my favorite one, just because I think that's a cool name. I'd like to buy a beer for the guy or the woman that named the skunk ape. The southernmost Bigfoot to occupy North America. The skunk ape is a resident of Florida's extensive Everglades. Some say it is a cousin to Bigfoot, while others say it's the same species. The number of sightings of the skunk ape in Florida rival the number of sightings of Bigfoot in the Pacific Northwest, which is a lot. The animal earned its name because of its unique smell. Well, I will say that the most common thread of all the sightings is somebody always brings up the smell. Like the smell is the first thing.
Yes. And
that,
the feeling. Some people say
yes,
that they it's like a certain eerie feeling, a fearful feeling or something.
Yep, depending on who tells the story, but like you said, a lot of them start with, like they're walking through the woods or they're taking their dog for a walk or doing whatever, going down by a river, and they get this eerie feeling like they're being watched, or like, something's not quite right. They're uneasy. They kind of feel, even on a normal day where the sun's out or whatever, they still feel uneasy. And so, and I think that and I think that's why I believe a little bit the idea of the psychic powers / the ability to travel in and out of these little pocket universes or parallel dimensions or whatever they are. Who knows, maybe they've got really powerful brains and they just don't talk because they don't need to, but they do apparently grunt and roar and huff and whatever. But after the uneasy feeling, the feeling of being watched, I guess the next thing is, in a lot of cases, they make some kind of noise or some kind of, they whack trees, with tree branches or other trees. They make this, like, I don't want to say barking sound. It's like a real deep grunt kind of thing. People suspect it's like a territorial thing, like you're on their territory and they're kind of doing you a favor by kind of giving you a head start, like if you hear them kind of grunting or banging on these trees, you usually don't have long before they come after you, kind of thing.
Right.
And run you out of the territory. And there's been a lot of, and then the smell kind of comes in at the same time. People have described it as like, if you know what a bad BO smells like and multiply it times like 100, it's just like super, super BO or whatever you want to call it. And I guess some of them will actually throw rocks and that kind of stuff if you don't respond to the whole, tree shaking, tree whacking, the grunting, whatever. So they start picking up stuff that's around them. They start tossing it in your direction. There's a lot of stories of people where their roofs are getting pelted with stones and pebbles and that kind of stuff. And in general, again, I haven't read every story, but I did watch Finding Bigfoot for about 10 seasons. That's a pretty good show, actually. If you're into that, it's easy watching late at night, before you go to bed or whatever.
Right.
But I guess a lot of the encounters that people have are pretty, they're not violent, they're pretty nondescript in most cases. Like they're a passing encounter in most cases. Some cases, if you fall in their territory or whatever, they try to run you out with the rocks and stuff like that.
Right.
What was I going to say? I will say 100% certainty, I can vouch for the smell thing, because I think I might save that for the next episode. But I personally, when I lived in Tennessee, I'd lived there for about a year, and I had horses, 20 acres, the whole 9 yards. And I had a border collie that I used to sit out with. I'd build these big fires. I had this like 10-foot pit that I would throw these, like whenever trees would die and stuff like that, that's where I'd just dump them in this pit and I'd burn them. And so I'd sit out there at night with the dog. And where I lived, there was very little city light, so you could actually see like the Milky Way. You could see the edge of the Milky Way or whatever. So it was just beautiful. So dog and I would sit out there a lot. But one night we had a little incident, and I will never forget it. the dog will probably never forget it either. But
Mm,
it was insane. So anyway, I'll talk about that in the next episode. So
nice.
now you were going to say, what were you going to say about the you were going to tie it in with what we were talking about earlier.
Well, yeah. I mean, it goes along with the Nephilim, and it also could possibly go with the whole there being an existence even before Adam. Like I said, a lot of these um, beings. Yep, that's so true, Kim. A lot of people have had UFO sightings in these areas where they've seen Bigfoot as well. No showers in the forest. Yes, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's not like they got the Y out in the forest. They could just go, pop
Right.
into the Y and take a shower.
Right. So yeah, I mean, what if these beings have been on, were a part of the old world that was before Adam? These beings are interdimensional, which I've heard from quite a few different, people who have had sightings, and even some professionals. You know, in the past, I've watched a lot of L.A. Marzulli and those guys,
Yep.
and else he was on somebody's show too. That I would watch, and a lot of times they would talk about that. They would talk about the fact that these beings were interdimensional, and a lot of them were here for a long time. So everything that I've heard, it kind of ties into with the Nephilim, with how, what if these are beings that were, may have had a DNA manipulation, or if they were just, a part of, God's creation that have been kind of preserved or whatever, and oh, the Lorax, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah, that's something we're gonna have to do a little research on there, Margot.
Yeah. The only thing I know about the Lorax is the cartoon that I've watched with my kids.
Yeah, that's I was thinking of, like the Who or whatever, like the Grinch, whatever it is.
Right. So it's like, those are some things to consider. And so even when it comes to the Bible and it's talking about different strange things that have happened, and the Nephilim, who were, the people, the great beings and all that stuff, then it kind of ties in and goes hand in hand. Sid Roth, I haven't heard anybody talk about Bigfoot or anything like that on Sid Roth. Sid Roth usually does mostly supernatural stuff. Man, what is his name? But anyway, he's an older guy. And he does a lot of stuff talking about this, and very prophetic as well. Yeah. Anyway, but they've been talking about these things for a long time, and like I said, these beings have been around for a long time. Like you said, there's been writings and drawings in caves talking about these beings. So it's very interesting to see, and the fact that they're using. It seems like I've heard about different sightings, and they talked about how they've used certain technologies, that were way more advanced than our stuff as well.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something that gets overlooked a lot. That's in a lot of, especially older accounts or instances where people run across Bigfoot, especially in certain areas. It seems like the older accounts before, like the internet, before, like in the 1800s, the 1700s, that kind of thing, people are describing what you're saying, like technology, like they're using technology, at least what the people then thought was technology. And
and different abilities. And I think a part of those abilities and stuff are things that even the cabal has kept hidden from us for a long time. And because they don't want, they want to control, and that's a part of the control. They keep people ignorant to the truth and to a lot of this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Anna says they could tread water. Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Oh, look, she says, yeah, Tom Horn is one of them as well. What is his name? I'm going to find him. He has a ministry called Gen 6. You guys know who I'm talking about, for those who know about Gen 6.
Anna says Sid had Tom Horn on talking about hybrids.
Yes, hybrids. Yep, hybrids come out of Genesis 6, and
Well, think about this too. And this, my wife brought this up the other day to Charlie. Charlie and I were standing there and we were talking about people living, 1,000 years, like back, like Noah living like 934, 936 years, whatever it was. And, there's a lot of people that lived long lifespans. What if, like what you're talking about, these, whether they're hybrids or whether they were, hidden away by God or whatever,
right.
if they had long lifespans, if you think about it, what if they didn't stop growing their whole life? They start out small, and they keep getting bigger. They just keep getting heavier, taller, whatever, and that's just how they are. They're
right.
So yeah, there could be a lot of Steve Quayle. Yes,
Steve
Wendy,
Quayle, exactly.
That's it.
That's who it is. Been watching Steve Quayle for a long time, and Steve, if you're watching, we would love to have you on the show. But Steve is a wealth of knowledge, and he's very prophetic as well. And
Steve's the man when it comes to stuff like that. He's just he's a mountain of information.
Yes, and been talking about this stuff for a long. When a lot of people wasn't talking about this stuff, he was talking about it, and they called him crazy.
Oh yeah.
Now people are starting to see,
It's. I think this is a perfect time for stuff like this because of the other awakening happening. Yeah. I think people are more open to a lot of different things, and Bigfoot being one of them, or cryptic creatures. I think one of the shows we'll eventually do is there's the legend or like a lot of accounts of like dinosaurs existing in like the Congo River area, like in Africa, and and that's like a persistent thing that's been around for a long time. Like that, people seem to keep talking about it, and so that's an interesting rabbit hole to go down too.
Look, you think about Loch Ness.
And and that's, if you think about it, people say, well, nobody's ever seen Nessie or whatever. What if it's another one of those interdimensional beings? What if like the Loch Ness is over one of those magnetic or lines of the earth, like the pyramids of Giza or something? What if there's some kind of portal, whatever, just
right
there. Can it be fake? Sure. But there's been a lot of people seeing stuff like this in different areas. Like I can't remember there's a lake monster somewhere in North America, and I can't remember the name of it now. It's got a funny name, like it's almost got a comical name, but kind of like the Nessie thing. And it's rumored to be kind of look the same. They all seem to have that kind of I know we're veering off course here, that kind of that long neck, kind of prehistoric dinosaur aquatic animal look kind of thing. But there's just, like you said, I think there's just so much stuff that's going to just be unveiled to us or given to us here in the not so distant future. And people, part of this awakening here, this is stuff that you guys we've been hiding from you. Well, maybe not we, but the people yes, exactly. And they aren't there anymore. So here you go.
Right. Pretty much.
Now there's a lot of, if you look around the interwebs, there's a lot of states, especially out in the Pacific Northwest, whether it's the state website or the National Forest Service or like the National Guard, they openly talk about Bigfoot, and they have like readiness programs. They have like highway signs and things like that. So they give it some credence. Like the National Guard out here in, I think this was in Washington State. It says, Legend of Bigfoot. The legends of Bigfoot go back beyond recorded history and cover the world. In North America, and particularly the Northwest, you can hear tales of 7-foot hairy men stalking, and that's more like 8 to 10 don't know where they get 7 foot.
Mhm.
Occasionally scaring campers, lumberjacks, hikers, and the like. Bigfoot is known by many titles with many different cultures, although the name Bigfoot is generally attributed to the mountainous western region of North America. We talked about Sasquatch, and Wendigo is another one that's come up a lot in the past. Even in Hollywood, they've made movies with the name Wendigo.
Wow.
Geez, can't even pronounce it today. Instead of calling it Bigfoot, they called it Wendigo.
Mhm.
Other nations tell of a large creature much like a man, but imbued with special powers. That's why I wanted to read this, because when you were talking about that, it made me think of this. Special powers and characteristics. The Ojibwe of the Northern Plains believed that Rougarou appeared in times of danger, and other nations agreed that the hairy apparition was a messenger of warning, telling man to change his ways. Well, that ain't happening.
Right.
You got to have a little stronger warning here.
Right.
And that's another thing too. Back like when the settlers started roaming out west, it says North American settlers started reporting sightings during the late 1800s and into the 1900s, with the occasional finding of footprints, sporadic encounters, and even a few grainy photos and videos adding to the mystery. Those who claim to have seen Bigfoot have described everything from a large upright ape to an actual hairy human, sometimes standing over 8 feet tall and described as powerfully built. And that is another common thing. They never are described as being lanky or skinny or whatever. They're usually described as powerfully built, very muscular.
Mhm.
Entire organizations exist to study and document Bigfoot and prove its existence, and groups regularly search the Northwest woods looking for the ultimate proof. Now, back in the 60s, if a lot of people remember, and we're going to keep this, like I said, this is going to be a multi-part episode, so we're going to keep this to an hour. The Patterson Gimlin film in like Bluff Creek, California is kind of what started it all. So if everybody kind of remembers that, it's basically where this image came from.
Right.
There was somebody that recently took that shaky video and stabilized it, and so you could watch it. And that's kind of what, oops, where is it here?
Wasn't it like proven to be real or something like that?
Yeah, like they couldn't disprove it.
They couldn't disprove it.
Yeah.
Which was very interesting.
Yeah, I can't find it. It must be in another folder. But there was a video of it's all stabilized, and it's actually very cool. And again, if you've ever watched Finding Bigfoot, I'm going to play a little clip from Animal Planet's Finding Bigfoot here. They're actually talking to, I don't know if it's Patterson or Gimlin, but he talks about the footage real quick. It's only like a minute long here.
How far away was she when you first saw her?
Just across the creek, about like from here across the creek.
And if you don't watch Finding Bigfoot, for anybody, this dude here in the middle, his name is Bobo, a very appropriate name for that show.
Wow.
When I first saw her, she was standing upright. I thought, you know, this is unreal. The way it was moving, the massive muscle. Roger had the camera up to his eyes, and he stumbled and fell. Where you can see the shakiness part. I rode across the creek. I got off the horse and took my rifle out of the scabbard in case I had to make a shot. She made that turn to look.
And that was another thing they proved after the fact with modern technology, when they
kept running on walking.
Kept breaking down the film, that it was actually a female
She
Sasquatch.
went on up
wow.
outside up that canyon.
Anyway, when I was a kid, when I saw this, when they first
All this time,
showed
I'm thinking,
this,
holy mackerels, these things do exist.
I was like, that was like game on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Very interesting.
It is an interesting subject, and it's one of those subjects that warrants a multi-part kind of thing, because there's so much that can be talked about Bigfoot and any other cryptic creature for that matter. But Bigfoot's the big daddy, the main one that people seem to gravitate towards. So I think in closing, again, we're not trying to make you believe Bigfoot's real. This is truly for entertainment purposes and to get your mind, maybe going in a different direction that it might not normally go on a day-to-day basis. And it's fun. It's interesting to think of the possibilities outside of our normal life, and of all these creatures that we could possibly cohabitate on Earth with. And I think Joe's nailed it on the head, that I think there is an ancient connection, biblical connection to these creatures somehow. And I don't think they're random. I think,
yes,
because I've heard crazy stories all the way, like they're not from this planet, to, like they were stranded here kind of thing. Like, so I have a tendency to believe that they belong here and that they were put here on purpose and serve a purpose.
Yeah,
Whatever
I believe so too.
is.
I believe so too. And it's a reason, I guess, why they're trying to be unseen by people. So they must be doing something behind the scenes.
Right. And if they're not interdimensional beings, they're getting divine help.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
So now, everybody that's watching, we appreciate it very much. Keep the comments coming in the videos, that kind of thing, and go to the Telegram channel. We like to interact with everybody that watches the show. Don't be afraid to throw your ideas out there for new shows and that kind of thing. Or even if you have a story you want to tell, by all means, send it to us. Because at one point, I would like, if anybody's had an encounter that eventually watches this show, I would like to get them on the show, talk about their encounter, and
that would be
get some participation.
That would be
and
really good.
Don't forget Friday. I think it's at 6:00. The Gathering show, Delora O'Brien's show, gonna lay down what happened Saturday, this past Saturday, and it truly was biblical, and the ground did shake, and you guys are gonna be so thrilled when you're done with that show.
Yes. Oh yeah, you sure will. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, Anna says, my reference to treading water was to Joe's comment. They were here before Adam and Eve. The civilizations between Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2. Okay. Yes. And Joe's brought that up before, that civilizations between and past shows. So it is an interesting subject on its own.
Yes. Very interesting.
All right, everybody. We're gonna end it here, because if we get started with something else, it will just take forever. So we want to keep these shows about an hour. So God bless all of you for watching. Share the video, like the channel, go to the Telegram channel and join. Let's see what else. Joe's information and my information will be in the link after the video is done processing, and spread the word. We want people to join the channel, participate. So,
yes.
And for those of you that don't know, Joe's got a show coming up here right after this. Where can they go to see that?
You can go right over to Joe Dingle. That's the name of my YouTube channel. You can search on there, and I believe John will have a link to my channel in the description. But if you search Joe Dingle, you'll see my page, because it'll say Joe Dingle as a channel name on it. So Yep, go there. We'll be starting in about 4 to 5 minutes.
All right, my friend. It was wonderful seeing you this weekend, and thanks
Yes.
for jumping on the show. And always great.
Same here, man.
God
Love you,
bless you,
brother.
sir.
Yes, God bless you.
And God bless all of you. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you next time.
Yes.